Hello everyone, and welcome to my Warhammer Total War Empire Starter Guide. This guide will focus both on the long campaign and short campaign, and will focus primarily on the difficulty of Legendary. Do keep in mind, if you're going to be playing on lower difficulties, strategies can work as well. For our two lords at the beginning, we have Emperor Karl Franz and Gelt. For this campaign, I would strongly suggest choosing Karl Franz, not to only mention the fact that he's a very powerful close quarter combat leader. However, for Legendary, it's better to apply more skills in terms of his campaign skills, his leadership skills, rather than him being a fighter. If you're on a lower difficulty, then yeah, it's not that bad. For faction effects, he has the plus 5% campaign movement, which is really important if you're going to be catching the greenskin hordes or getting to a settlement or ambushing. The upkeep cost is not bad either. You can get Reichsguard and great units for minus 2% off. That's pretty good for the mid-game to late game. What's probably the best is his starting units being the Reichsguard. This is essentially heavy cavalry which we'll use to break the lines of all the enemies you'll be fighting up, from the Empire factions to the Vampire counts all the way to Chaos. The handgunners are pretty important too. They are your best unit to counter skirmisher cav at the beginning of the game, and it's also a pretty powerful unit against the vampire counts when fighting Fellbats, Varguys, Crypt Horrors, and even Vampire Lords themselves. So it's a really good unit. I mean, I got it up to like triple gold when I finished my legendary campaign. Halberdiers, they're essentially a step lower than the great swords, but they're a pretty good unit that you can use to secure your flank. As for Gelt, Gelt is a wizard which specializes in metal magic, and it's actually not that bad. However, what falls really short is he can't go into melee combat, so he's vulnerable. You have to rely on magic, and his faction effects are just not good at all. I mean, you could consider them to be like late game faction effects, but what really depends whether or not you win or lose a campaign is the start. He does, however, have some interesting units, right? So, I mean, having the Outriders Missile Cav means that you can harass enemy formations. Like those Orc bosses, you can literally use the Outriders to harass the Orc boss to death. The Great Swords are very strong melee infantry that can definitely break enemy lines. However, it's just one really powerful unit. But what's probably the most important unit in Gelt's starting unit is the Mortar. These mortars can be used very effectively to force the defending army to attack you. So you can make a defensive position in a game and win. But in the end, I'd strongly suggest getting the Emperor because in Legendary difficulty, trying to convince a number of other factions that join a confederation is pretty difficult. It's only to like around mid to late game can you actually convince factions to join, because just being legendary, everybody essentially just hates you. When you start in the campaign, immediately go into diplomacy and make a trade agreement with Kislev. If you don't make it on the first turn, if you wait too long, they'll essentially just not want to trade with you at all. For some reason, they will trade with you. If you're on a lower difficulty than Legendary, you can trade with Bretonnia as well. However, since this is on Legendary, they're not going to accept a trade deal. In your capital, on turn 1, you're going to have to deal with the problem of minus a public order. Don't worry, you're going to have a problem with you're going to have a rebellion, but this is all planned. You can actually use this to your advantage. Get a lord very quickly in Altdorf right off the bat, and then carry him into the treasurer slot, or the not treasurer slot, excuse me, the construction slot for the Empire. This gives you a 10% discount on building buildings. With Karl Franz, you'll just send him and do an automatic battle to kill the enemy. You could play the battle for better results, but this is just to do it quickly. Be sure to send Karl Franz back into your territory. Having a 10% discount on constructing buildings, instead of paying 2,000 gold for a barracks building, you can actually just pay 1,800 instead. Just keep in mind that 10% discount does not affect the whole province. It only affects that certain city. You actually have to move the construction general to each city to apply the discount. As for call fronts, build the 3 swordsmen and you should be good to go to assault the Empire secessionists without any issue.
Fight for our nation.
You can simply auto this battle, or you can play it.
Who calls?
Be sure to occupy and not to do any more damage than you have to do to them. At this stage, you can now open a trade route to Talabeklan, and also a non-aggression pact. They will accept it this turn, but if you wait too long to do this, they might not accept later on. Sometimes you can get lucky with Wissenland to make a trade, but it's like a 50-50 chance that they'll actually agree to do a trade with you. Now I'm going to also bring up a very different strategy. There are neck snapper orcs in the mountains, and the thing is, you want to wage war with them, because this dwarf army, the Karak, they will become a serious issue to you, to your empire, and you want to make them like you a little bit more. Because essentially what they're going to do is they will overpower those orcs, and they will take control of that area, and they'll have a full stack in that mountain range. Left unattended, if those dwarves hate you, they'll invade from the mountains, harass, and maybe even raise one of your economic growth cities, as a matter of fact. And that could be a serious problem in their early game. If you lose a city like this, crucial, it's going to set you back a lot of turns. So, to make them like us, we'll essentially declare war on neck snappers, and we're going to sack their settlement. It's the early game, so they don't really have much of an army. What will be there is a Empire secessionist expedition that you could easily just slaughter. Don't forget to, when you're applying skills to the Emperor Karl France, get yourself a discount on your soldiers. You can save yourself a couple gold. The city is under siege, so it's already confirmed that, yeah, there's definitely an Empire secessionist expedition guarding it, or sieging it. A lot more people would go after all the provinces for the secessionists, but separatists, but you're better off going up here.
Yes.
You can kill an army that will be more than likely raiding your lands, and you can sack those orcs and get about 1,600 to about 2,000. That's gold that you can actually really use. As for your main secondary general in Altdorf, use him in Force March and send him to Gunberg. Instead of paying 1,600 for that village upgrade, you could go to 1,440. Getting crossbows is pretty crucial. I got pretty lucky here with Wissenland offering trade. This doesn't happen often. This is very random. Most of the time they will not trade with you, so you can't rely on them too much.
I am Prince and Emperor.
The separatists are getting ready for the attack, but unfortunately they have no chance against the stack. From here, you can just sack and attack the city.
Yes. Bring me to my men. Ulrich's will.
It won't really matter what kind of defenses have at this time of the game. It won't be this fortified. Sometimes you might get 1,600. Sometimes you might get 1,900.
Make haste, men. Summon the Elector Counts.
Now, at this stage, you have to get ready for the orc raiders to come into your territory, skull mashers and all that. When they get close, here's a trick. When they get close to this town right here, they're going to go underground and invade Altdorf. Having played about 10 plus scenarios, legendary scenarios, the orcs take the same path every single time. Here's an ambush tactic that you'll do. Your secondary general, build 3 units for him, because he's essentially going to be a security force. Use force march on Karl Franz, and get ready to attack the next province. You can continue investing in that. I mean, we're essentially just going down the skill tree for better replenishment. And now we're going to see if the AI is going to take the bait. They're still getting into position. They're getting very close. Because when they get that close to the river, they're going to burrow under the ground and go as deep into Empire territory as they can. Now, the secondary general that we have will remain where he is. It's a good position. And you'll see exactly why. As for your main army, you can send them off to attack the next separatists.
Raise your weapons. Men, I will fight with you.
Should be easy battle, no problem.
To strengthen the Empire.
This essentially is going to be your new barracks, main barracks area. You're going to destroy the one that's in Altdorf. Because you don't really want a tier 3 building in your main capital. You're just preventing from a better building from being built. Like, you'll be better off building a smith, a gunsmith, a Temple of Sigmar, heck, even a tap room. On legendary difficulty, I strongly suggest destroying the barracks and building the tap room all the way to tier 3, to be honest. Because that public order, it counters the -8 public order for legendary difficulty. If you're on a lower difficulty, then I suggest getting stables, because you could then get yourself horsemen. If you don't have to deal with a severe public order penalty, you could then work yourself up to getting demigryphs. But if you're on legendary, the best cav I would strongly suggest is getting Reichsguard. I mean, they're very good heavy cav. You don't really need demigryphs. Here I was just getting the whole ambush ready. I could get a discount for that building by moving the construction general, but it's not worth it. I have to get ready for this trap. And the trap is sprung. Now, fortunately, my secondary general cannot take on that orc army, but here's what you do. Go to force march with your main stack and get behind the orc army. Then use your secondary general to attack. He'll immediately retreat, and you'll still be in range of your primary army. And here you can eliminate the raider altogether. You could decide here whether or not you want to get more money, or do you want to just execute. Either option is good, but keep in mind that if you want to grab more money, there will be a number of factions that are going to hate you for doing that you get like a negative bonus to that. Like Marienburg will actually not like you for releasing hostages, but in return you get yourself much needed money, because you're not in this early game, you're not even focusing on economic buildings to actually like get ahead. You're just basically ransoming and sacking. But you don't want to destroy these provinces because it's Reichland. This is where you're going to build up. I strongly suggest getting these garrisons up as quickly as possible, because I more likely believe that the AI determines its targets by what units are in the area. If they see that there is a vulnerable target, they will go straight for it. The secondary general will stay in Grunberg, and he'll basically behave like a garrison until it's actually well built up. I'm just checking my stats with the Garrick. They will be attacking those orcs soon and they will wipe them out. Whistleland is more of a traitor later on, but if you can get him on good terms early game, then that's good. But you shouldn't really need to worry about him. They honor their non-aggression pact for quite a while. I was just checking the diplomacy map to see where the orc raiders are at, if they're anywhere close to my border.
Is it time?
So I could determine where I can move my main army.
Of course.
Since
Let's go.
my replenishment is still it's still around, not too good. I mean, Karl Franz is about to die, but if you keep autoing battles,
Indeed.
he isn't gonna die. Your hero, you might have like other heroes that might die, but your main general just doesn't die to an auto battle. Unless your whole army loses. From here we got a full stack and essentially we can beat anything.
Attack!
The Empire faction has been destroyed. The Separatists are gone and essentially we're in full control of Reichland.
The Empire. I command here.
With Karl Franz, I just continuously focus on the campaign skills to get that replenishment rate as quickly as possible. The discount for the early game is also not bad. I mean, if you're gonna go late game and you're gonna do global recruitment, that 50% discount's worth it. As for the reduction in Vampire and Chaos, that's actually really useful. Maybe not for like lower difficulties as much, but when it comes to like very hard or legendary, any amount of reduction of corruption is it's needed because you have that -8 public order by default for all your provinces. And essentially at this point, I'm just fortifying and checking my areas, sending the construction general to move to different areas in the different villages to apply the discount. If you move him very close to, from one city to another and he doesn't reach it, the bonus might apply to other villages, so keep an eye out. The borders are a little strange when it comes to the different villages. If you want to make sure that it works 100%, this 10% discount, be sure to get the general into the village. Destroy the growth building. Quite often in Elhard, they always have that growth building. You could destroy it and get something better, like a mine for more money. For the quest that's right here, since we've wiped out the orcs, we've wiped out the separatists, a rebellion is about to spawn near Altdorf, so getting to it as quickly as possible is the goal. You'll wipe out the rebellion and you could do the quest very quickly. As for the bonus for the province, you can honestly choose whichever you want. I mean, personally, I gave myself tax, a little tax boost. It's not going to be huge because I don't really have many economic building. You could choose growth if you wanted, but Grunberg's cattle pastures building is giving you a massive amount of growth. The only thing that's holding you back is just more gold. Continuously, I was just building up my defenses at Helmgard and then building the barracks. Building up the barracks at Helmgard and destroying the barracks at Altdorf. I will then be building a tap room at Altdorf and build it up to tier 3 to counter the negative public order. You could use Forest March and go through neutral territory, but it's not really worth having having Midland hate you early game. This is the perfect time to counter the rebellion and to do the quest. And doing the quest early is, I would strongly suggest doing it because you get a wizard of which you then deploy in your province and give yourself a 10% discount on all buildings in the province. Add that with your general, your construction general, that's a minus 20%, that's a 20% discount on buildings. And when your wizard levels up after a couple turns, eventually that will turn into a 20% discount. So with your general, 30%.
You may speak before my
Here I'm just trying my chances and trying to get a non-aggression pact with the dwarves. That's essentially what you see right there is essentially the stack that I'm worried about. Now, since I attacked the orcs, they're on slightly better terms with me. Like, they don't hate me completely, but they're still a really big threat. Like, early game Empire doesn't really have good units to take on the dwarves. They're just too heavily armored, and I have little to no armor piercing, except like my crossbows. The rebellion spawns, switch to normal mode, and wipe it out. You can get pretty lucky with these rebels and actually steal their cannon. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's like a 50-50 chance that you'll actually steal the enemy's artillery. And this time, I got pretty lucky. I went straight for replenishment because that's the advantage of this army. These are low tier units, they can replenish very quickly, and you can just keep doing battle after battle. Since these are rebels, go ahead and pardon them. Get the money. No faction's gonna hate you for getting money for rebels. Like, honestly, you can actually like abuse it. Like, you keep like you know how vampire counts can kill rebels and get better units. Well, with Empire, you just kill them and just get more money. Here, I was thinking whether or not I was actually gonna send Carl Franz at such low health to do the quest battle, but I'll do it anyway. I'll just have him like in the back of my lines during the whole battle. But for the battle, I'm gonna skip it and just focus on the campaign aspects of the campaign. The battle wasn't too hard. It's just invest a little bit of time. The Reichsguard cavalry will simply win you this battle. As you did before, ransom the prisoners and just keep getting more money out of it. It doesn't really matter what kind of wizard you get. The only reason we're going to be using him is to do we're going to deploy him in Reichland and get that 10% discount. I would strongly suggest getting tier 3 cities as soon as possible. The taproom will help control the the public order problem. That's on legendary difficulty. If you're on lower difficulties, then go ahead and get the stables in Altdorf. You can then like focus on getting pistoliers or maybe outriders, not too long. But getting your cities like all tier 3, getting those tier 2 garrisons up is pretty important as soon as you can. Because the AI completely, when they see city walls, for the AI they need to use about maybe 2.5 stacks to actually assault the wall. They treat it like they're fighting like 3 stacks when it comes to villages. And you can use that to your advantage. At this stage, once you deploy the wizard and you got that 10% discount, you could essentially decide where you want to go from here in the campaign. You could head west, take over Marienburg, and then continue on towards Bretonia. Or you could head south, You could fight the dwarves. I strongly suggest not trying to fight the dwarves because you don't really have too many good armor pen units in the early game. You can invade the east and take on other Empire factions. That's what I would strongly suggest because you can then take on the vampire counts. Wiping out the vampire counts early is a pretty big pro because you don't have to deal with like vampire corruption and chaos corruption at the same time. Dealing with them both is pretty annoying. And if the vampire counts grow, so will their stacks and the difficulty of their units. Like we're talking like Terrorgeists, like Vargals and all that. There'll be a lot of them. And the vampire counts really do like the horde mode. They almost behave like the Warriors of Chaos when they're using their armies together. As for technologies, continue. First get leadership, and then get experience. But overall, this is essentially where you want to be. You can decide where you want to go from here. As if you guys are interested in a more lengthy guide for Legendary, that'll be my next upcoming video. But this was a pretty lengthy one showing off the starter guide for the Empire. The Empire, it's a lot harder playing Legendary for the Empire than Warriors of Chaos because there's just so many more random variables that are thrown at you. Like I've tried like 10 scenarios with the Empire, and some scenarios where they throw like completely different things that were unanticipated, but you can deal with some of them. But yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys are interested, the Legendary guide for the Empire will be the next video for the my Total War series. I hope you enjoy the vid, and I'll see you next time.